What does it take to justify hype? Like, at what stage do people stop speculating and start actually believing? For Khamzat Chimaev, it feels like a win over Gilbert Burns this weekend could be exactly the ticket to stop the naysayers from mumbling on about improving himself against a somebody.
And why to LA with it? And why to LA with it? I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tinted. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side, but I'm from the east side. This how we slide, this how we ride, yeah, yeah, this how we ride. Going pro, no lead, make it easy like 1, 2, 3. Go, go, on 3, 2, 1. I fly till you can't see me. Swish, yeah. Ballin', from the first whistle we go all in. And one, call it. Numbers up and never falling. Feel like I hit the lottery, I'm proud of me, yeah. Know a babe proud of me, so I throw pride away. She know I stuck to the plan and I stayed out the way. Now we're spending no money, never touching the bank. Just from me the game and I'ma get it done. Don't do it for fame, do it for the ones. Ace with cigar, my damage my lungs. If you want to drive, she get what I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tinted. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side, but I'm from the east side. This how we slide, this how we ride, yeah, yeah, this how we ride. Going pro, no lead, make it easy like 1, 2, 3. Go, go, on 3, 2, 1. I fly till you can't see me. Swish, yeah. Ballin', from the first whistle we go all in. And one, call it. Numbers up and never falling. My baby called me and said she need to stay. Be for real, 25 they other type of kid. Stop playing with me, you know that you here to stay. Stop playing with me, I'll be back home in the 8. Know I'm on the go, but I'm not over you. Made you fall from home, but I'm still close to you. Gotta get that back like I'm supposed to do. Had to rush hurry up cause I'm overdue. I like getting money, I got time to get it. Target on me, so my car's a tinted. Dancing with the devil, I don't bargain with it. Bobbing in the dash and the stick is with it. And I hit the 4-5 on the west side, but I'm from the east side. This how we slide, this how we ride, yeah, yeah, this how we ride. I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again.
For my money, which isn't a lot, Khamzat is the most exciting prospect that the UFC has had in a while. Inside the octagon, he's absorbed 1 significant strike in 4 fights and finished every single opponent. And outside the cage, his dedication to his craft and phenomenal work rate set his success. But of course, it's his personality that's establishing his celebrity. As soon as he's finished 1 fight, he's calling out the next.
Who would you like to see next when you step into the octagon? Everybody, I come in for everybody, kill everybody!
Using Twitter as his own, like, personal matchmaking / marketing service and capitalizing on every opportunity that's coming his way. And he's just fucking fun, isn't he? During 1 month, November 2021, I remember it well, he went on a tweet rampage calling out Brock Lesnar, Daniel Cormier, Georges St. Pierre. You gotta love the enthusiasm. But he's not just talk. You can't ignore the well-rounded skill set. He's got 2 knockouts, 2 subs in the UFC, 10-fight win streak, a background of winning at the highest level in wrestling, as well as competing in judo and combat sambo tournaments. You've seen training videos that show his dominance, but the familiar cry from the critics is that he's just not been tested against a high-caliber fighter. Enter Gilbert Burns.
I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck. Country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up. Only buying car to get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. No fault, I done doubled up on the workload. I think I fell in love with the bankroll. Pray up, get money, then we lay low. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me. Gon' back it up. Matter what? Told you I'ma do me. Why you hating on me? It's not adding up. Driving on the road like I'm the only one. Shooting to the green, I talk a hole in one. Bible on the dash, they with the Holy One. I know I put in work, they didn't notice none. Switch gears, clubhouse, took me 6 years. Marble floors, gold trim, feel like I'm Richie Rich. Italian leather, French suede, I mix the fist sick. Quick loss, take a risk, we play for the win. Might spend $1 million at the rug store like Manafort. But make it purchases.
Ranked number 2 as a welterweight, Brazilian has dynamite in his hands and powerful kicks. What do you say having gunpowder? I don't... Powerful kicks. As well as a highly respected jiu-jitsu game, which might just help him avoid a smashing. He's won 7 of his last 8 fights in the octagon. The only loss is to the champ. Burns is by no means infallible, but he is one of the very best welterweights in the entire world and has the right skill set to really push Chimaev in ways that he's not been tested before. There's a chance this might turn into a floor war, kind of wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, but if Burns can keep the fight on the feet, he has the speed and explosivity to really see whether Chimaev's striking is at championship level. Now, by the champ, obviously Burns hasn't been beaten at this weight class, but at lightweight he was given some trouble by grapplers. That being said, he's obviously not stupid, and he's been training for this fight, bringing in a couple of, his words, big tough Russian wrestlers. Sounds pretty hot. Who he said have been changing a lot of things in his game. He's also working with Said Saparov as one of his main coaches, and all of this together has given him a better understanding of Russian wrestling techniques and the skills that Chimaev will be putting into play. There are certain grips that Russian fighters use which are unique to them, and it's less about strength and more about the technique. And obviously they're strong as well, so... Burns says that he's been learning how to defend against these techniques by using them offensively as well. So we might even see that in this fight, using Chimaev's moves against him. And he says that he hopes that this new string to his bow will help with the issue that Chimaev's length brings to the table. Because jiu-jitsu is about leverages, it just becomes a lot more complex when the guy is long Stretch Armstrong. All that being said, every time Chimaev fights, fans say, this is the guy that's gonna give him some adversity. And we ain't seen it yet. Dana said not long ago that Chimaev needs 4 more fights in the UFC before he's gonna even think about putting him in title contention. But a win over the number 2, I think that's gonna propel him forward. Don't you, Dana? Ain't no businessman or mathematician. But although now Conor's talking about coming back and fighting Usman, so. But Conor aside, Gilbert would probably be looking at another title shot if he comes out victorious. There's a lot at stake here for both sides. But I think when there's a lot of noise surrounding you, there is always more pressure. Whether Chimaev's letting that get to him or not, we'll see. But the pressure is there. The hype train has ruined more careers than it has nurtured. And that's what we're really here to talk about. First, let's define what I mean by hype, because people get real touchy about it. Basically, all I mean by hype is there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of marketing, a lot of bigging people up and fans getting excited. Basically, it's thought that they could be the next big thing in MMA. People consider hype to be someone who gets all of that without warrant, and I just don't see it that way at all. Like, Ronda was hyped. Izzy was hyped, my god was I excited. Conor, Machida, Fedor. Doesn't mean that they didn't deserve every word of it or go on to prove all the talk right. Hype to me just means we all heard about them before we really saw what they could do, and we got hyped ourselves, so calm your tits, okay? There are many fighters who got a big old chunk of the organization's marketing budget and paid it back in kind. If we're only talking about people who didn't deserve it, doesn't that mean all hype trains eventually get derailed? And if you go on to become champion, it was never hype in the that sounds dumb to me. You're dumb. There are loads of people who didn't make my list because I don't consider it to be a derailing if someone lost one fight at the height of their hype. This isn't a biggest upsets video, you know? Although if you want one of those. Justin Poirier, yeah, the train wobbled a little bit on the tracks at the zombie fight. But look at him now. Same for Francis. Stipe made him look like a big tired baby in need of a nap. In that first fight. And since then, he has more than lived up to the hype. That Garn fight. I was worried I was looking at the next evolution of human, and this evolution was not going to live long. We're talking about victims of hype that hit a snag and didn't ever really come back from it, or at least to the extent that people expected of them. And before you get all up in the comments and that's so, there are so many. It's literally the UFC's job to hype up fighters. They are called a promotion. These are just some of the more interesting stories, IMH opinion. Like, I didn't want to talk about Sage Northcutt because the story isn't just that interesting. Like, was he cut? Did he leave? Has he now thrown in the towel after that 29-second knockout and severe facial disfigurement? I don't know. I don't know if that was a hype train derailing or Dana just getting bored of his toy. Was he Sage Northcutt? Or Sage North left of his own fruition? That's the level of humour you can expect if you subscribe to this channel. Basically, it's my video and I'm making the rules, but I would love to hear your hype train stories. Just don't be a dick about it, babes. Alright, babes? Let's get on with the stories of hype train victims. Those that went off the tracks in fascinating ways.
Driving on the road like I'm the only one. Shooting to the green, I talk a hole in one. Bible on the dash, they with the holy one. I know I put in work, they didn't notice.
The UFC champ that never was. Oh, we're off to a controversial start. Yes, FABER is a damn accomplished athlete, one of the best to ever do it in his weight class, went on to be a phenomenal coach.
Switch gears, clubhouse, took me 6 years, marble floors, gold trim, feel like I'm Richie Rich, Italian leather, French suede, I mixed the fist.
But hear me out, this one's more of like a poke at the UFC brass than at FABER. FABER was one of the WEC's biggest stars. In fact, he was the face of WEC, more's the pity. He was featherweight champion and he defended that belt in the WEC 5 straight times. But in the UFC, came short of the belt 4 fucking times. He managed to win in the UFC when a title wasn't on the line, like in his debut. He beat Eddie Wineland and was propelled to the top of the division, set to fight Cruz for a second time, this time for the UFC belt. He lost. Fine, not a derailing. Let me continue. After an injury sidelined Cruz, FABER got another shot at the title, this time against Renan Barão at UFC 149. He lost. Then he won 4 in a row. Just not 4 that had such big stakes. That earned him his way back to the top, back to a rematch against Barão. He lost. In fact, that time, Barão took just under 4 minutes to get FABER out of there. And then at 199, he got his final shot against Cruz again, only to watch his title dreams disappear for the last time. But that wasn't his last fight. He went on to fight Brad Pickett on his own terms, in front of his hometown, took the win. He just couldn't seem to put it all together when there was a big shiny belt blinding him.
Quick loss, take a risk, we play for the win. Might spend $1 million at the rug store like Manafort.
When you make a mistake or get tired in professional wrestling, you just cut the cameras, have a sit down and start again, right? Bobby Lashley soon found out that wasn't an option when you make the move to MMA. Following in the hype train tracks of Brock Lesnar, Lashley made the move to MMA and started out on a win streak that made it seem as though he would be a superior mixed martial artist to Lesnar.
But making purchases you can't afford. I move the money like it's illegal. Something more of rigor mortis, where I move dead people lay low.
Until Strikeforce Houston, where Chad Griggs made Lashley throw in the towel between rounds 2 and 3. The sport just takes a different kind of animal. Although some say it should have been a no contest due to a couple of dodgy decisions by the ref, Lashley himself said that actually he had been dehydrated and really struggled in the run-up to the fight due to mono, and had to be carried out on a stretcher. After that, he did do some fights for some smaller promotions, but never reached the dizzying heights that people expected of him, and often showed that his cardio wasn't up to scratch.
L's know how those days go, say so. He say, but nothing ain't no peso.
Silva's rise to the top was not without adversity, but he proved time and time again that he could come back from it.
Deals locked, it's like a case closed, bankroll. Different league, we don't use money phones. Trusting the artist, his hands steady for it. Pray up to the Lord, he knows I'm ready for it. All on the earners, you know I'm heading towards.
He was really exciting to watch, with his first 4 fights in the UFC ending by KO or TKO in the first or second round, leaving him with a perfect 14-0 record before being handed his first loss by Machida. It's not where the hype train got derailed. He came back from that to win, and then lose, and then win. And then it gets interesting. It was revealed after that win that he had falsified his urine sample. The win was taken from him and classed as a failed drug test. Next fight, Silva loses. Next fight, Silva wins. Then he fails a drug test. Are we starting to see a pattern? Win-win, missed weight, got cut, came back, arrested for violating a protection order against his estranged wife and threatening her new partner, cut. Silva got cut from the UFC. For good. Everyone at the time thought that Silva was well on his way to becoming light heavyweight champion, but he could not stop getting his own way. He was set to self-destruct. Could say similar things about John Jones, but seeing as John Jones has actually done bigger, better things in the promotion, Silva wins this hype train derailing competition. Well done.
As you know, I'm heading towards eyes on the Rolex, it's like a Chevy Ford. Driving on the road like I'm the only one.
So you want to be a fighter? An actor? A fighter? HUERTA had overcome a lot by the time he made it to the big leagues in MMA. His father left when he was 12, he was kicked out by his stepmother shortly after, he lived on the streets for a bit, and he survived by joining a gang. And he entered the UFC on a long winning streak, hence the hype. In fact, his only career loss had come via a dislocated jaw in a super brawl, which happened to be his third fight of the day. And his first fight in the UFC ended with his hand being raised and a nice chusty bonus for fight of the night sliding into his bank account. Hype level 2 reached. In his next 5 fights, he got 5 more wins, 2 more Fight of the Night awards, and 1 Fight of the Year award for his submission win over Clay Guida. It was all looking pretty good. Then after 1 loss, HUERTA said, you know what, to hell with fighting. I want to be an actor. Now that is the definition of a sore loser. And loser was the theme from then on. That was mean. But the acting thing didn't pan out. He came back, but he never quite had that hunger that it takes to reach the top levels of a sport like this. He lost his 1 fight back in the UFC, left the organisation, did fight for some smaller organisations, but ended up losing almost as many fights as he won from then on out.
Shooting to the green, I talk holy wine. Bible on the dash with the holy one.
My final story is about URIAH Hall. Now I love URIAH Hall. I am and have been well and truly conducting the URIAH Hall hype train. Toot toot. After the knockout heard around the world, the spinning heel kick that put his opponent out with just seconds left in the round, we were led to believe we had a vicious monster on our hands. But the reality was a much different story. Hall lost the tough final to Gastelum and his UFC debut. He won his redemption fight in glorious fashion, had a few more wins, a few more losses, but something always just seemed to be holding him back from the greatness that his skills and physicality suggested should be available to him. Despite being naturally, athletically gifted, incredibly fast, and having dedicated years of his life to training, Hall just doesn't like to hurt people. That tough knockout was super telling now that we look back on it. When he realised the damage that he had done, he first looked somber, fair enough, and then fearful.
Sorry, Adam.
Like he was really grappling with a strong moral dilemma. It is way too simple a conclusion to say that he's a talented fighter that just couldn't get out of his own way, or he lacks the mental fortitude or killer instinct to be a champion. Sure, fights like the Natal match where he seemed hesitant, or the Costa fight seemed to support that narrative. There are loads of fights that don't. The Santos fight with the mangled toe that he won on pure grit alone. The spinning kick that marked the beginning of the end for Mousasi.
Oh! Right in the face!
In that fight, obviously Mousasi's killing it now. Hall just seems to struggle with the fact that the thing that he is best at in the world is causing harm. Maybe he doesn't belong in this list. Maybe it's just a less interesting story about a career that naturally takes twists and turns. It's a fascinating mental case study. Even if it is too simple to say he gets in his own way, he certainly doesn't always capitalise on his abilities. I guess what I'm trying to say is watch this space. He may just be taking a little longer to get to the destination. And with Darren Till calling him out, in fact I believe calling for a fuck URIAH Hall chant at UFC London. Next chapter of this continuously evolving storyline might be just ahead of us. Speaking of Darren Till and his best buddy Chimaev, beautiful segue right back where we began. It's a similar message for him. It's not over. Best is yet to come. I don't think he's going to be just another misread marketing opportunity. He really is that good. Can't hold it against him that he's not been tested yet. Take that to the matchmakers. He's certainly been willing, and sometimes the most exciting fight you can put on is the champion versus the next big thing. Let there be an upset. We fucking love an upset. If he wants it, put him in there against Usman, against Adesanya. Let's see what he's really made of. Let me know who you think wins on Saturday night, and if Chimaev is victorious, who you think makes sense for him next. And I'll link some more of my MMA videos for you on the end screen, as this seems to be your jam. You made it this far after all.